Hey, Brian here. Today I'm going to talk about a Sanskrit word called Nadi. So Nadi is an energy channel or pathway. Subtle energy channels through which prana flows. So prana is our life force. Prana is energy. Prana is what animates us. There's said to be 72,000 nadis with three main ones, the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna. The Nadi system describes a subtle anatomy through which prana flows, creating the foundation for understanding how yoga practices influence our energy and consciousness. So the traditional texts mention 72,000 nadis. In practical yoga, we often focus on three. So they're primary ones. The Ida, the left lunar cooling, the Pingala, the right solar heating, and the Sushumna, which is a central channel, the neutral or spiritual channel. So the Ida Nadi corresponds to the parasympathetic nervous system and right brain functions. So parasympathetic nervous system, I think, rest and digest. The Ida, while the Pingala relates to the sympathetic activation and left brain activity, with the Sushumna representing the integration of the polarities into a unified awareness. Most people live with dominance in either Ida or Pingala, creating an imbalance that manifests as chronic stress, depression, anxiety, or other physical and mental disturbances. Yoga practice work to balance these two currents while gradually awakening the Sushumna, the central channel through which spiritual energy, in this context we call it Kundalini energy, a spiritual energy that rises from our base up towards our crown. So this can rise towards enlightenment. Advanced practitioners often develop sensitivity to Nadi flow, using the awareness to guide their practice, daily activities for optimal energy and consciousness. Let's look at three common yoga practices that are traditionally used to balance the Ida and Pingala. So most yoga does, but I'm just going to go into kind of three and then explain how this works, so then we can extrapolate that to other practices as well. So Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to breathe in through one nostril, out the other, and in and out. So the nadis are directly connected with the nostrils. So pranayama alternates between breath between the left nostril and the right nostril, because breath and prana are deeply linked. Channeling breath through the left nostril activates the Ida, cooling, parasympathetic, going to be relaxing, while the right nostril activates the Pingala, heating, sympathetic, going to energize us. Alternating this in each breath harmonizes the flow of prana and balances our brain hemispheres. So the effects of Nadi Shodhana calms the nervous system, reduce anxiety and stress, prepares the mind for meditation by gradually opening up the Sushumna. Second practice, we all know sun salutations, Surya Namaskar. We're going to practice this with balanced awareness. So dynamic asana sequences like Surya Namaskar move prana actively through the body. So we're going to be moving a lot of prana when we're doing sun salutations. But it's very interesting. By practicing with balanced attention and breath and movement, both the lunar, the Ida, and the solar Pingala energies are stimulating. So we're stimulating both. So for interesting with sun salutations, forward folds tend to be cooling, activating the Ida. Back bends, heating, activate the Pingala, right? So we're moving forward, we're doing forward bend, back bend a lot. So we're balancing the cooling and the warming. So the effects, we're going to create an overall energetic balance. We're going to clear stagnation in the pranic body, and it's going to synchronize our left and right sides of the body and the brain. Third one, Shavasana with breath awareness. So this is going to bring us into a balanced relaxation. So in deep relaxation, the body and nervous system settle, reducing dominance of either Ida or Pingala. When you simply lie in Shavasana and watch the breath without controlling it, the flow through both nostrils often equalizes naturally, called Samariti in subtle breathing. This balance indicates the prana is shifting into the Sushumna. So Shavasana, we rest both systems. Neither is activating, and this allows balance to happen. This is why Shavasana is so important. So the effects, we're going to restore equilibrium to our nervous system, balance the hemispheric brain activity, gently integrate practice, prepare for meditation or daily life, right? So these three practices, Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, Surya Namaskar, sun salutations, Shavasana, right? Together they can give this full kind of spectrum, little example of how yoga practices balances the energy in the body, this Ida and Pingala, energy in the body. So how does this ancient map of these 72,000 nadis correspond with our current scientific thinking, our current models? So the Nadi system isn't a physical structure, so you can't dissect it and see it, but it does correlate to several scientific models. So we have the model of the autonomic nervous system, right? So the Ida Nadi corresponds with the parasympathetic activation, rest, digest, restore. We've all heard of this, right? So this is the Ida. The Pingala corresponds with the sympathetic activation, fight, flight, energize. And the Sushumna is a balanced state in homeostasis where both systems are harmonized. Research shows that alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, which I mentioned a little bit before, helps to balance the sympathetic parasympathetic tone, reducing stress markers and improving heart rate variability. So science can measure these in terms of our heart rate variability and other stress markers. Brain hemispheres, we've all heard of right brain, left brain, right? So breathing through the left nostril simulates the right hemisphere. Spatial, creative, emotional thought, right? Breathing through the right nostril simulates the left hemisphere. Logical, analytical, verbal, right? Studies using EEGs, functional imaging, confirm that lateralized activation, which maps well to the Ida-Pingala duality. Third thing, the nasal cycle, right? In healthy humans, the dominance of airflow alternates between nostrils, between our right nostril and left nostril, every 90 to 120 minutes. So about every 2 hours. This is a nasal cycle. You can check which one's dominant for you now. You just take an inhale, just take a very gentle exhale, slowly, and you can tell which one is dominant. Right now, my right one's dominant. So this is a natural cycle that switches, and you'll really notice if you get a little cold, right? You'll plug up on one side very clearly, right? But so we're naturally cycling. So this cycle naturally shifts the autonomic dominance, parasympathetic or sympathetic, in the body. The body's doing this naturally, rebalancing itself. So yogic breathing practices seem to consciously influence and regulate this cycle, which is otherwise subconscious. Bioelectric and fascial networks. The idea of 72,000 nadis doesn't directly map to our nerves or vessels, but some researchers propose that they reflect bioelectric pathways and fascia, the connective tissue matrix that conducts signals and integrates body systems. Fascial research shows piezoelectric properties, meaning it can conduct subtle energy, offering a modern parallel to the flow of prana. So while nadis don't anatomically align in the Western sense, their functions correlate with the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, brain hemispheres, activity, right, left brain, nasal cycle, and then possibly this fascial network and biosignaling. So the yogic model and modern science point to the same functional reality, just described through different languages. So this is the main way that yoga works, through balancing the energy in the body. In the traditional view, balancing the energies, the Ida and Pingala, is a primary way yoga works because it clears the path for the Sushumna to awaken. Once energy flows freely in the Sushumna, the yogi is said to connect with spiritual energy, Kundalini energy, higher conscious energy, pure awareness. So in yoga terms, most people live in one channel dominance, right? Too much lunar, lethargy, depression, or too much solar, solar energy, stress, agitation, right? We're all experience this. Yoga practices, asana, pranayama, meditation, balance this Ida and Pingala. The result, the duality quiets, the duality of the world quiets. Prana flows evenly and the Sushumna becomes accessible. So if we're looking for a deeper aim in Sushumna, Kundalini rises, is going to rise up. We've heard of the chakras, right? Rises up through the chakras, leading to expanded states of consciousness, deep meditation, ultimately enlightenment. So in modern science parallels, balancing the autonomic nervous system, we're going to move to homeostasis, resilience, mental clarity. When stress and lethargy even out, we have a higher brain function like self-awareness, creativity, compassion can emerge, right? This makes the spiritual state both neurophysical. This makes the spiritual state both neurophysiologically possible and mystical experience. So is this the only way yoga works? No, we all know there's million benefits of yoga, right? We can strengthen the body, the muscular skeletal system, cardiovascular system. We can train the mind, focus, emotional regulation. We can purify our lifestyle with our ethics, our eating choices, our self-discipline. But these all serve the bigger aim, right? We want to align the body and energy so that a deeper self can be experienced. So in yoga, we're doing energy balancing work, spiritual connection, the pathway of central yogic map of transformation. It's like clearing static away from a radio so that we can tune in to the higher frequencies of consciousness. So let's look at some real life examples of some things we may be experiencing when we're activating the Sushumna. So balanced breathing, both nostrils feel open. Breath flows evenly, smooth and effortlessly. So example, after a round of alternate nostril breathing or meditation or Shavasana, you might notice there's no longer a left or right dominance. Instead, we have a breath that feels perfectly balanced. So the meaning of this, right, our energy currents of the Ida and Pingala have equalized, allowing the Sushumna to carry prana. Then we're moving prana along the central channel. We might have been in a meditative flow, right? The mind is calm, present, deeply focused. The thoughts slow down without effort. We might be sitting in meditation. You can slip into this awareness that feels expanded and timeless. You're aware, but not grasping for your thoughts. The meaning of this Sushumna opens when polarity reconnects, giving access to deeper states of consciousness. So we're transcending the polarity of this world, transcending the polarity of this consciousness, moving into a deeper state of consciousness. Subtle physical sensations, right? We may experience tingling, warmth, lightening, a gentle current along the spine, especially the central axis, right? So after an intense yoga session, you lie in Shavasana, you feel a soft vibration rising through the spine or column of energy, in the heart or crown chakra. So this is Kundalini is beginning to stir and move upward within the Sushumna Nadi. Peak performance, flow states, right? Complete immersion in what you're doing. Effortless balance between effort and relaxation. So examples of this: a musician totally lost in playing, right? An athlete in the zone. A yogi in seamless asana flow, where time dissolves. So what's happening here is energetic dualities, the action, the rest, the left and right brain, they harmonize, they're in harmony. They are one, they are united. Prana naturally channels through the Sushumna, giving rise to this flow. Emotional equanimity, here's another one. We may feel emotional equanimity. We experience reactivity fades. Right? Emotions arise and pass without throwing you off center. We're still going to feel emotions, but they don't throw us off center. We don't get carried away. We don't get activated by them. Right? Somebody cuts us off in traffic, and instead of getting a spike of anger, you notice the situation calmly and just keep driving and wave to them, right? Life's fine. The meaning? So the nervous system balance indicates the Sushumna is active, grounding awareness in stillness. So if we're feeling more emotionally equanimitous, like we're very equal in our emotions, this may be a sign that we are grounded in this stillness. A spiritual glimpse, right? A sudden sense of unity, bliss, sacred connection, right? During meditation or kirtan. In nature, I love nature. We feel maybe the individuality dissolves into oneness, right? We might have tears of joy or deep peace. So energy flowing the Sushumna connects personal prana with universal consciousness, right? So in short, Sushumna activation can show up in balance, right? Breath, mind, emotions, flow state, creative focus, performance, subtle energy, experiences, maybe spinal current, tingling, bliss, deep meditation, spiritual awakening. Hope this is useful to us, to you, notice to me, to kind of have this map and understand the deeper way that yoga is working.